Good evening. Jimmy here in Chicago. Hope everybody's having a great week. Before I head out tonight to watch the NHL and NBA playoff games, I want to drop a short story on nicknames. Nicknames that were used and given by some of the Chicago outfit guys and associates. Back then, everybody had a nickname. Sometimes you were given a nickname based on your appearance, the way you looked. Sometimes you were given a nickname on how you acted or certain mannerisms. Some of the outfit guys would refer to other guys by their nickname only when they would talk in code, never using their real name, just in case anybody was listening. Even I had a nickname. Back in the day, they called me Highland, probably because my dad was half Irish and half Scottish. Now my new friends, the guys I work with, call me the mayor. Had this one girl, Puerto Rican girl I know, she used to drink so much vodka, we gave her the nickname Guzzler. Or my dear friend Robert, this kid came from Miami, moved downtown Chicago on the Gold Coast. He started hooking up with beautiful women every single weekend. We gave him the nickname JFK. Or my guy Jack, we call him Jackula. But let's get into it. Let's talk about some of the nicknames used by some of these Chicago outfit wise guys. Here we got public enemy number one, Al Capone. His nickname was Scarface. He got that nickname because years ago he had beef with another thug. Al Capone made a smartass comment about the guy's sister. The guy pulled out a knife and slashed Al Capone right in the face, leaving him a nice scar. Hence the nickname Scarface. When Al Capone went to jail for tax evasion, it was this man here, Paul the Waiter Rica, that took over as boss of Chicago outfit. His nickname was the Waiter because years ago he used to wait tables part-time. Interesting story about him. He was a very quiet, calm Don, similar to Andrew Bruno in Philly or Carlo Gambino in New York. And when he was in prison, Tony Accardo would pose and disguise himself as a lawyer so he could go visit Paul the Waiter Rica, and then they would meet and obviously talk business. Now here's a great picture here. You got boss of Chicago outfit, consigliere of Chicago outfit, Tony Accardo. You're looking at one of the richest, most powerful men in the country during his time. And his underboss, his right-hand man, you got Jackie the Lackey Cerrone. Tony Accardo got the nickname Joe Batters, JB, by Al Capone. Years ago, Al Capone had a meeting at the Lexington Hotel on South Michigan Avenue where he had all his captains and all his soldiers. 3 of the men were suspected informants. And Tony Accardo pulled out a baseball bat and beat all three of the men to death right in front of everybody. Al Capone was so impressed by how violent Tony Accardo could be, he gave him the nickname Joe Batters. Now here's a guy you don't hear too much about, Sam Teets Battaglia. This guy and his family made a fortune in the rackets. He also made a fortune in the legitimate world as well. Stocks, real estate, produce, restaurants, etc. His grandson became a professional hockey player. And I remember I seen him. This is when you had Chelios as the captain of the Hawks. He played against Battaglia's grandson when he played for the Carolina Panthers. So I thought that was pretty cool. But he got the nickname Teets because he would threaten people, if you don't pay me my money back, I'll knock your teeth out. So that's Sam Teets Battaglia, made member heavyweight Chicago outfit. This guy goes back to the Al Capone gang and the 42 gang. Now here you got Gus Alex, very high-ranking Chicago outfit associate right under Joey Upa and Tony Accardo. That's him in the early 1990s walking into the Dirksen Federal Building, being escorted by the lawyer's son, Carl Walsh Jr., I went to this trial. This was the first trial I ever went to. His nickname by the feds was the political fixer. His nickname on the streets was Slim. They called him the political fixer because he controlled all the mob's money in the Swiss bank accounts, and he controlled pretty much the entire Chicago Police Department, the Cook County Sheriff's Department, all your 50 aldermen. He had good friends that were senators, congressmen. He was very close to Vice President Agnew. So here's Slim, Gus Alex. Prior to that trial, he underestimated the government, and he thought no jury would ever believe a low-life career criminal murderer like Lenny Patrick, prime suspect in the JFK assassination. He didn't think any jury would ever believe him. But unfortunately, Lenny Patrick testified that he knew Gus Alex for over 35 years. Lenny Patrick and his crew were extorting car dealerships, businessmen, threatening violence if they don't pay him hundreds of thousands of dollars. He would meet Gus Alex at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. He actually wore a wire on Gus Alex. It was quite obvious when they played those wiretaps that Gus Alex was very paranoid, very cautious. They would exchange money, and they actually used the doctors at Northwestern Memorial Hospitals to send messages. But unfortunately, the jury did believe Lenny Patrick, and Gus Alex was found guilty. Here we got one of my favorite guys. This guy, Samuel Volpendenzo. Chicago outfit, loyal soldier. This guy goes back to the Al Capone days in the 1920s. He's an actual World War II hero. He was the oldest defendant at the Mike Sarno trial. And a great story about him is years ago in World War II, when we were being attacked by the Japanese, a kamikaze pilot crashed into a destroyer, a boat, sinking the ship. This guy here volunteered to swim into the ship and start saving people. He saved several people, I think like a dozen people. Otherwise, they would have been dead. He was charged with making the bomb. Mike Sarno, Mark Polkman used the bomb to blow up a competitor they were having beef with, and he was on tape bragging about the bomb, saying he put in 2 wicks, if you light both wicks, you're damn sure one of them will go off. He explained where to put the bomb, but to actually hear his voice on tape in that courtroom, I'll never forget it. He came out in an orange jumpsuit every day, never even cared to dress up in a suit like most of the other defendants. He was in a wheelchair. His son was on trial as well. He was 86 years old at the time. But this guy was on tape laughing about seeing Mad Sam DeStefano stuff body parts in a grinder. He was also telling stories about Tony Accardo, how Tony Accardo made millions. He was on tape talking shit about Mike Sarno, how Sarno's crew wasn't paying him for all the work. But this guy was something else. And during sentencing, his lawyer brought up a couple war stories, how all the lives he saved in World War II. They also displayed medals on the table to show the jury, to show the judge that this guy is a real, true war hero, and he should be given some slack. However, the judge, it fell on deaf ears. The judge scolded him, said, "You never once showed remorse." Throughout the trial, this guy would laugh out loud, not really lose his control in court like Sam Carlisi or Frank Carlisi, but definitely would make wisecracks and kind of make a mockery of the system. But the judge told him, "You never showed any remorse for all your crimes. You're a career criminal, even though you're 86 years old." So the judge gave him 25 years. All the defendants were found guilty. Me personally, I definitely would have shaved a couple of years off of his sentence. And I'll never forget seeing his wife in the gallows crying when he was sentenced. She had to know that her and his son were definitely Chicago outfit soldiers. But this is Sam Volpendenzo, and again, he got the name Master Blaster because he was an expert in explosives. And some of these guys that served in World War II, Korea, or Vietnam, they learned all about explosives. They would come back home and then teach other street gang members how to make explosives. But this guy, the master blaster, World War II veteran Sam Bopendenzel. Here you got two Chicago outfit bosses at one time. You got Joey Doves Iupa. Most Chicago outfit guys would refer to him as the old man. He also had the nickname Joey O'Brien, but he got the nickname Doves because he used to love to hunt and fish. And one time he got pulled over by the cops and he had thousands of doves in the trunk of his car, which is against the law. So I'm not sure if the outfit guys gave him that nickname or the media. And then here you got Wings, Sam Wings Carlisi, underboss of Chicago outfit. According to Nick Calabrese, it was Joey Iupa that gave the order to Sam Carlisi to knock down the Spilotro brothers right before he went to prison. I went to Sam Carlisi's trial. That was the second trial that I went to. I'll never forget being 15 feet away from this guy. But this is Wings. They gave him the nickname Wings because he would fly all over the world on outfit business, and his boss, Joey Iupa. Now here, I'm not sure how to pronounce that last name. You got Jerry Gerald Carosello. He was good friends with Joey Iupa. He was also Joey Iupa's driver. He was one of the men that tortured and killed a few of the burglars that robbed Tony Accardo's house. But he got the nickname Dinger or Ding Dong because he would go up and down Taylor Street and say that he had the biggest ding dong, the biggest dick, and anybody that would challenge him, they would pull out their dick, and obviously Dinger was hung like a horse. But a bartender at Richards told me one time that years ago, Zsa Zsa Gabor was on the Johnny Carson show, and they were watching it at the bar, and Zsa Zsa was telling Johnny Carson how the last time she was in Chicago, she stayed at the Ambassador West, which is right there in the Gold Coast, and that she got robbed. And that during the robbery, one of the guys slapped her in the face. And she couldn't believe not only that is she being robbed, but the guy had the audacity to slap her, Zsa Zsa Gabor, big-time Hollywood movie star, in the face. And she just didn't understand why he slapped her. The whole time Johnny Carson is interviewing Zsa Zsa Gabor, Dinger and some of the Wild Bunch guys were watching it, laughing their ass up because two of the guys at the bar were the ones that actually robbed Zsa Zsa Gabor. But this is Dinger, crazy nickname Ding Dong, because he claimed to have the biggest dick on Taylor Street. Here you got Joe Ferriola, boss of Chicago outfit at one time. According to Nick Calabrese, believe it or not, he was one of the men present when the Spilotro brothers were beat to death. Nicky went on to say that after the brothers were killed, Joe Nago, Mr. Clean, Joe Ferriola, they all three of them went out to a diner to have coffee, and Joe Ferriola told Nick Calabrese and John Theckerata to cut up their gloves into little pieces. He got the name Mr. Clean because, one, he pretty much hardly took any pinches, and two, he owned a lot of laundromats. But Joe Ferriola, the late Joe Ferriola, unfortunately, his life was cut too short. He had some serious health issues, but this guy was one of the bosses that gave the green light to kill the brothers. And if he didn't die, he would have turned out to be a great leader in the outfit, and he would have left in much better shape than it is in now. Here you got another made member Chicago outfit. I talked about his trial. I went to his trial. That was the second trial because the first trial, the jury hung. He was allegedly one of the guys, the man in black, that killed Hal Smith. Hal Smith was one of the biggest bookies in Chicago at the time, but he got the nickname Boxer because he was a championship boxer back in the day. Here you got Tony Spilotro. In court, they would refer to him as the little guy. Michael and Tony Spilotro would refer to Tony and Michael Spilotro. I'm sorry, the Marcello brothers, Michael, Mickey, and Jimmy Marcello would refer to the Spilotro brothers as the Chivagos, like the movie show. FBI gave him the nickname the Ant, and he hated that nickname. Here you got Frank Calabrese, the biggest loan shark in Chicago, one of the main defendants at the family secrets trial. This guy, his son and his brother testified against him. They also conspired to steal all his money and lock him away for life. This guy was a vicious killer. His MO, he would usually strangle a guy with a rope or his bare hands, and then use a knife and slit his throat ear to ear. But he got the nickname The Breeze. Here's the boss of the 26th Street crew. This guy is the devil, Satan himself, Angelo the Bull, Angelo the Hook, LaPetria. He got sent away along with Joey Upa, Joe Lombardo, Jack Cerrone during the Strawman case. They were skimming millions of dollars from some of the mobbed up hotels and casinos in Vegas. None of the outfit guys liked being around this guy. He got the nickname The Hook because he enjoyed torturing people and putting them on meat hooks like William Action Jackson and others. Very sick-minded, kind of like a Mad Sam DeStefano or a Roy DeMeo. Here you got Johnny Apes. He took over as boss of the 26th Street crew when Angelo went to prison. He was on lookout when Nick Calabrese killed his best friend John Fecarata. He also gave the order to kill Johnny Apes. Him and Johnny Apes had beef. Ronnie Jarrett was ghosting him. Apes had enough of Ronnie Jarrett's bullshit. And allegedly, Johnny Apes gave the order to Tough Tony Calabrese. Tough Tony Calabrese pulled up in a van, ski mask, Chicago Bears jacket, and killed Ronnie Jarrett right across the street from his house. I'm not sure why they call him the Ape. Maybe because he looks like an ape. Now here you got Anthony Tony the Hatch Chiramonte. Actually seen this guy in court, and it was pretty scary, very intimidating guy here. He was one of the defendants at the Sam Carlisi trial. They call him the Hatch, and I'm going to let you just imagine the reason they call him the Hatch. But this is a very dangerous, very top enforcer soldier for Chicago outfit. Anthony Chiramonte the Hatch. Here you got Louis Tomatoes Marino. According to Nick Calabrese, he was one of the men that took part in brutally beating and stomping Michael and Tony Spilotro to death. He was one of the men in the basement. They called him Tomatoes because he made a fortune in the produce business. Here you got legend in the Chicago outfit, Toots Caruso. He got the name Toots, Tootsie Babe. I'm not sure why, but Frank Calabrese used to refer to him as the curly girl. Frank Calabrese would use code and usually talk in opposite genders. Here you got member of the Wild Bunch crew, nephew of Joe Ferriola. You got Harry the Hook Ailman. He got the name Hook because he used to be a good boxer like Bobby Salerno, and he had a hell of a hook. I went to his trial at 26 in California. He was convicted of killing Union official Bill Logan. But this guy here in the Wild Bunch, they killed a lot of guys. They did a lot of hits for the Chicago outfit. His MO was ski mask, shotgun, blast the guy, broad daylight. Here you got Mario Ranone. I seen him twice. I seen him at the first trial. He was one of the defendants in the Gus Alex trial. He was part of Lenny Patrick's extortion crew. He was one of the guys going into local car dealerships and restaurant owners demanding violence, or he would demanding hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash or threaten violence. He threatened one car sales manager that he would plant his whole family in the garden right in front of the showroom. A very, very dangerous guy here. Loyal guy, did a lot of time in prison. I seen him years later when he got pinched on a gun charge. As you all know, a convicted felon can't have a gun. He denied it. Joe Lopez represented him. But this man is free today. He's alive. Hopefully he's behaving himself. They gave him the nickname the Arm because if he put the arm on you, you were in a lot of trouble. Mario the Arm Ranon. And then we got the Lumpy or the Clown. The Clown they gave to him because he was funny. Even on the stand when he testified in his own defense, he had the whole courtroom cracking up. He even had the Judge Zagel smiling. He had all kinds of one-liners, all kinds of jokes. Like my buddy Dino said, they don't call him the Clown for nothing. Real funny guy, real character. And then some of the guys that knew him the closest called him Lumpy. Lumpy because if he got a hold of you, he would pound lumps on your head. Old boxer himself, Joey the Clown, Lumpy. Great nicknames. Here you got, this guy would have been a defendant in the family secret trial, but he died. Frank Calabrese thought for sure this guy was a snitch, but this guy was not a snitch. Most of all these guys I'm talking about were all stand-up guys. This is Jimmy DeForty. He participated with Frank Calabrese, Nick Calabrese in a couple murders, robberies, you name it, a career criminal. But he got the nickname Poker because he loved to play poker. Every time he had free time, he was always playing cards. One time he showed up for a hit or a birthday, as Frank Calabrese would say, with alcohol in his breath. Calabrese smelled the alcohol in his breath and started smacking him around. Here you got Paulie Shiro, the Indian. This guy was kind of a sleeper for the outfit out in Arizona. Good friend with Tony Spilotro, good friends with Joe Lombardo and others. He was one of the defendants at the family secrets trial. Guy was probably in his 70s. He didn't say a word the entire trial. No emotion, nothing at all. But he was the lookout, according to Nick Calabrese, when they killed Emo Vaci. Joey Upo was nervous that Emo Vaci was going to talk, so he wasn't taking any chances. I think I call him the Indian because he might have a little Cherokee Indian in him, or he kind of looks like an Indian. Here you got Joey Lombardo's cousin. When Lombardo was sprung from prison in the early 1990s, he was supposed to kind of be shelved a little and keep his head down. But in reality, he was hanging out with boss Chicago outfit at the time, Joe the Builder. They call him the Builder because this guy had a very successful contracting company. And here you got Mike Sarno, his nickname, Large, the large guy. I mean, at his peak, this guy was probably 350, close to 400 pounds. It's quite obvious why they would call him large. Mike Sarno was convicted based on some real nasty lying government witnesses. They were able to prove that he was the boss of a sophisticated burglary fence crew, and that Sarno gave the order when the crew blew up a video poker company. I was at that trial. Large was out on bond. I felt most of the evidence was against Samuel Volpendenzo, his son, and Mark Polkman, the outlaw motorcycle gang. There wasn't a whole lot against Mike Sarno or the other Polish guy, Casey. But unfortunately, all the defendants were found guilty. I know Casey is home today. Large is fighting for compassionate release. But if you were a producer, and you were casting for a guy to play a part in a mob movie, look no further, Mike Sarno. I mean, this guy was a pretty opposing, intimidating figure, but probably a teddy bear inside as long as you don't get on his bad side. But this is Large, the large guy. The nickname kind of speaks for itself. And then we hear one of my friends, Bobby Pinozzo. He got the nickname Pinocchio. Joey Lombardo gave him the nickname Pinocchio because Lombardo liked the way he would con and lie and bullshit people. He was also on the lookout for Joe Lombardo on a couple scores they did many years ago. But he got pinched on arson case, prostitution ring, robbing drug dealers, selling cocaine. All the defendants, a couple of the key people in the crew testified against him. The members of the PK crew all pled guilty. All of them are out today, including his son and Paulie K. But hopefully Bobby has learned his lesson, and hopefully he will come soon. but he got the nickname Pinocchio from Joe Lombardo. And then here we got Jewish gangster, Chicago outfit associate, outfit snitch. You got Bobby the Beak Siegel. He testified that he was related to Bugsy Siegel. He testified that he dodged a murder contract on his life. When Tony Accardo's home was broken into, they rounded up all the burglars that were involved and then other burglars just to send a message. And they were killing and torturing a burglar from each race. He testified that he was next because he was the Jew. When he said he was the Jew, everybody started laughing. John DeFranzo set up a score for him. He knew as soon as he heard that it was a setup. He agreed to take a lie detector's test to prove he had nothing to do with the break-in at Accardo's house. He passed the lie detector's test, and to his surprise and everybody's surprises, the outfit bosses gave him a pass. He eventually flipped and cooperated at the family secrets trial. But they gave him the nickname Beak based on that big Jewish schnoz that he has. But that's it. I just thought I'd have a little fun with you guys. If you are watching the NBA and NHL playoffs, let me know who you think. I'm going with Minnesota all the way in the NBA, and I like the New York Rangers. That's my nickname for today. Stick around. I got much more content I'm working on. If you like my Chicago mob trial stories, hit the like button, subscribe, and share with your friends. Ciao.